Okay, everybody, welcome to Hangin with the Hallers. We ain't raising the roof, we bringing it down. All right, this is the first ever attempt at a husband-wife podcast. Ever, if I'm understanding my research correctly. Ever. Welcome to Hangin with the Hallers. My name is Robert, and with me is my Haller, Christy. Say hi, Christy.
Hi, Christy.
Hey! I really need to change it for the rim shot, but it's okay. We are here to do a little something than what your boys' original podcast idea is running with, and that is just a little you and me time. Almost like our therapy.
Yeah, I was going to say something we like to call couples therapy.
Couples therapy. So, Christy, you had a wonderful topic idea. Why don't you go ahead and share what you wanted to discuss today?
I had a friend that mentioned something about, when did you start liking wrestling so much? And it kind of gave me a call back to when I was younger, and my dad passed away when I was 5, but he was really into wrestling, and I remember as a kid he was, interested in that stuff, and I kind of have some vague memories of watching it on TV, but no. And I said, well, I started getting into it when, I met Robert, and he told me that was his thing, to hang out more and get more time together. I kind of started watching it here and there. I am nowhere near a big a fan as Robert is of wrestling, but I do enjoy it. We even have went to shows together, and much more enjoyable in person, in my opinion. It brings us to the topic of, this is something that happens in relationships. Do couples, kind of like conform to each other's likes and dislikes, or do couples kind of keep their likes separate? Something that I'm very passionate about is soccer, and, Robert can contest to this. He said, I've never really watched a soccer game before, and now he is on board with that, and we've attended things together in person.
And it's a very thought-provoking topic, to be clear. So just from my side of things, I've been quite enamored for the better part of 30 years now with the world of professional wrestling, and it is ebbed and flowed through my life, come and gone, but it has been prominently there for a good portion of my adulthood. Certainly the entirety, I would say, of my time as a father. For the benefit of those in the audience that aren't familiar, I might have made a call out earlier. This is my second marriage. My first marriage did not have as much of the mutual acceptance in that manner of the world of pro wrestling greps. I will say on the flip side, probably for a better part of maybe 30 years or give or take, on Christy's side has been her love of soccer in many of its forms. And the interesting thing is, we both come from small little towns in Michigan. I can recall basically my soccer exposure growing up was 3 or 4 times going out to the playground for elementary gym class when the weather was nice and learning the basics of soccer. And one time visiting Albion College when I was, I believe, a junior in high school for a week-long student government experience, and just realizing all these people were out here having fun, and I had no clue what was going on, so I quickly noped out of that. And then there's all that general perception stuff of soccer, right? Like, how can you possibly get excited for a 0-0 tie? As someone that had took on a bit of I'll say a bandwagon liking to professional hockey in the late 90s when the Red Wings were just tearing up the NHL. And the same thing could happen there, but it was a little less likely. Whereas soccer, it just felt like that's what everybody was always like most excited about. Is like, oh my gosh, it was a 1-0 win. But again, once I started to enter the world through a different set of eyes, with a renewed sense of wonder and desire to fuse myself in whatever way I could to another human being that had just enraptured me. So it started to become something far different. And sure enough, we watched 2 World Cup together now, and certainly have hopeful plans for going to, more types of experiences like that in the future. And I'm not afraid to admit that I was playing around with the notion of getting myself a Megan Rapinoe jersey in the lead up to this year's World Cup. Didn't pull the trigger because, again, we are both #over to work, but that's to the point where how far I've come along. And again, to Christy's credit, I'll say she too has adopted the, small handful of pro wrestling t-shirts that I have tossed her way across the years, so I will give her credit for that. But Christy, I'll give it back to you. Who's your favorite pro wrestler? If you've really engulfed this lifestyle of mine, you must have a favorite pro wrestler.
It is the female Bianca Belair.
The EST of WWE.
Prior to that, it was Sasha.
Ooh, yes. I believe now she is better known as Mercedes Moné on the independent scene and in Japan these days. Just letting my nerd flag fly a little bit.
So I'm going to talk a little bit, though, about wrestling and some things that I didn't realize since watching it, which is not knowing a lot about it. Most of what you hear for the people who aren't big fans of wrestling is it's fake, Everything is fake with this wrestling. What I've learned, though, is the athleticism that goes into pulling off a wrestling show, and how people getting actually hurt. It's just amazing to see it, I guess, in person. For me, it was more of a realization than watching it on TV. Plus, like Robert said, we have a household of blended family, so we have 7 kids at any given time running around the house, so it's hard to pay attention when you're watching stuff on TV. Going to the wrestling show, though, I believe it was his 40th birthday. We got third row seating, or I bought third row seating as a gift for Robert, and that was an amazing experience, getting an up close view of things versus I think 2 years prior we went to a wrestling show much further out.
Yeah, still. Well, I guess we didn't have the greatest set of seats. I think when we were with who we were sitting next to, but they were a good distance if you wanted to get a good view of the ring, not if you wanted to be able to be like, oh my gosh, their sweat is hitting me in the face. So we've had a variety of different experiences. It's certainly lovely that the shared enjoyment, shared passion continues in both regards. But the thing I really want to highlight is what it speaks to, I think, on a deeper level, right? Is where do these individual loves, these individual passions, what are they saying about us, and what is pro wrestling to me? Why is it something I'm passionate about? And in a way I kind of look at it as because it's something that I find beauty in. It goes beyond just enjoyment. When it becomes something that you're passionate about, I feel like there's art that you perceive to it. And I just think there's something there about when two people, they find a way to connect through seeing the beauty of the world through each other's lenses. And then you realize that, like, hey, I don't have to put on a completely different set of glasses to continue walking through this world. I just have to modify my prescription a little bit.
I think being able to take time to do these things together has brought us closer too. If you didn't really like soccer and didn't want to go to games and, didn't take time to plan that lovely trip for the first game I ever got to see,
St. Louis, Missouri,
then obviously I'd still love you and all of that jazz, but it's brought us closer because it's showing your partner that what is important to you is also important to them. Soccer's a little bit different than wrestling, though. Wrestling comes on, 3 days a week or something?
Oh, so that's just at a minimum at this point in time.
Right. Hashtag to be clear. I do not watch every episode or every showing.
Hashtag to be clear, neither do I, but I try to keep up with as much of it as I can.
I guess the point is just to say, we do show each other love in the interests that we have, but it's not like we haven't engulfed it so much that it's now a part of us and we must always see it. Also, let's not forget to mention this lovely glass encased belt that I'm staring at for your 40th birthday.
Yeah, sorry guys, we haven't quite gotten to the point of doing this all on video and YouTubes and all that stuff yet, so maybe one day. So you can't see it, but we are kind of what we'll call it's not my man cave, it's my man professional suite, I guess. There's a number of different wrestling belts in here, but the most prominently displayed is over my shoulder currently in a lovely retro style display case of the Intercontinental Championship, specifically a 90s era version from the then WWF, now WWE. It's one of a few, but it is definitely the one that I am so happy to see it in the case because I know it'll last that much longer, because I could get it out and I could hold it, but I have other leather belts I can do that with. It just looking at it just fills me with so much nostalgic joy, but also battery charging, rocket fueling feeling just knowing the place it came from. So I do appreciate that you did take the time to point that out, because again, I had my back turned.
Robert did get me. He didn't get his Megan Rapinoe jersey, but he did buy me a Julie Ertz jersey, which is my favorite player on the U.S. women's national soccer team.
Haller, shout out. So any other thoughts on the subject?
I'm just curious, though, for the listeners out there, what are the type of things that they have engulfed?
Yeah, I would really love to see like the God, I don't know if this is the right word, the dichotomy, the let's just say the vast differences, right? Like he was an avid fisherman and I loved opera. I don't know, who knows, right? Boy, that would be great. Don't be afraid to share for those that get the opportunity to listen to this, because you might be seeing a little bit more of these type of recordings going ahead in the future. So we'll certainly be happy to take whatever feedback you've got. On that note, anything else you want to do right now? Or like how do you want to like close out?
Well, we could close it out with our sayings, but you already used those on your other podcast.
Oh yeah, sorry. I'm just trying to do whatever I can. Yes, exactly. Let's just give you an excessively long round of applause for that. Yeah, let's just fire some of those things off. Let's see. I mean, let's just what are all our phrases? So I haven't been like advertising all of them, right? We've got stick to the plan. You already heard it earlier. Hashtag to be clear.
Hashtag my Haller.
Keep moving forward.
Actually, it kind of did bring me to something else. Why did we start using hashtags? Where did hashtagging come from?
That's a good point to bring up, because yeah, they're gonna wonder why we're doing that. We don't make any mention of it, huh? Yeah, the hashtag thing. What? Really? I think it's just because of social media culture, right? It's just the idea that you go on social media and everyone has to say whatever they need to say. And then they have to have, like, I can definitely attest for this on like LinkedIn and stuff, like open to work posts. Sometimes there's like 40 different hashtags they put on there. This is going back in time a few years. I don't know if it was maybe me trying to be cute first or not, but I just thought use hashtags as a cute way to try and get across means of being appealing to you.
I feel like it's almost like a PS.
It's just the idea that they become such a significant part of this communication technique. You know, I've thought playfully, why don't we just introduce it into our common vernacular, I guess, between the two of us.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure we're not the first set of couples out there that have developed their own. It's almost like a pig Latin version of a hidden language, to be quite honest. But again, another one just occurred to me, hashtag my goddess. That's one that I started using very early on when this woman just got a hold of me. But anyway, yeah, that's just another thing. If you didn't pick up on already, we might as well make it very, very clear. You're going to hear those hashtags because that's just a part of who we are.
Hashtag Team Haller. How could we forget that one?
Yeah, hashtag Team Haller. Well,
it's
we've
literally
got so
a
many.
huge sign in
There's
our room.
so many. We just never put them all in the same post, so it's always hard to keep track. We got to start doing that if we're going to grow a brand. Apparently, I'm not trying to grow a brand. I'm just trying to get a job, maybe podcast for fun, and it be worth the time that I put into it. But, you know, you got to start somewhere, and we're starting some things.
Pet peeves.
We're doing that now? Yep. Pet peeves?
Yeah.
Just any pet peeves or what?
No, like pet peeves about your partner.
Pet peeves about your partner? Oh, man, we're going to go there.
Hashtag we're going there. I'll start small, okay? One of my pet peeves, especially when we moved in together, you never closed the lid to the contact solution.
Oh, that's a good callback. It's a good callback.
But tell me why, like a month later, I suddenly stopped closing the lid to the contact solution. I think we're back on board though, now.
I will say that I am not the world's biggest fan of how much time my lovely spouse spends conversing on the phone. Granted, I know I am on a far different end of the spectrum. I don't make regular telephone calls outside of, if there's a work or potential work obligation. Obviously, if someone calls to play catch up or there's some reason you got to get a hold of somebody, yeah, I can talk with the best of them, but I usually just save it for the opportunity that's presented in front of me. It is what it is. You just might be in the middle of doing something in your day-to-day life, or we're doing something together, and then a phone call, might interrupt, and you just realize, oh, yes, it's that relative that you talked to this morning, and you'll probably talk to again tonight. Yes, let's stop what we're doing right now to talk to them at noon. Pet peeve. Now, if those phone calls made, it would no longer be a pet peeve. You want to do the main line? You're welcome to. And now I'll just jingle our way out. You know, I jingled the way in.
What?
You remember the jingles? I was trying to do different jingles.
You want me to jingle the way out?
No, I'm just saying if you want to do the line, if you want to do the tagline.
What's the tagline? Holler if you hear me.
Hanging with the Hallers.